Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
Today we are opening up a really remarkable set of personal forces, a collection of reflections that provides a true blueprint of how resilience is engineered.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just a simple autobiography. It's a profound roadmap that charts a journey from a small, intensely quiet internal world to a position of, well, external mastery, both in technology and in creative expression.
What's so fascinating here is the sheer clarity, the clarity with which this individual has documented the shifts in their internal and external rhythm, across 2 decades.
You get that?
We're not looking at a list of mere milestones. We're really undertaking an archaeological dig into the emotional, the creative, and the spiritual infrastructure that's required to support becoming a cloud engineer and an aspiring AI specialist.
That's the core of our mission today. We really need to extract the enduring life lessons embedded in this journey. We are asking, how do those deepest emotional experiences, the pain of isolation, the sting of heartbreak, the devastation of personal loss, how do they end up profoundly shaping your professional trajectory and, ultimately, your identity?
Yeah.
This is the story of someone who had to fight to find their voice, first through imagination, then through music, and finally through this intense technical discipline and faith.
And we can specifically trace that evolution of self-expression. I mean, if you look at the source material, the coping mechanisms he uses to navigate that isolation, that heartbreak, they follow a very clear, almost deliberate progression.
So,
Well, they move from the intensely private and self-contained, the universe he built from Lego and comics,
right.
to the communal and emotionally expressive realm of alternative rock music, and then finally to the highly disciplined, the systems-oriented fields of computer science and cloud engineering.
So it's almost a case study.
It's a compelling case study in using crisis and internal conflict as the ultimate catalyst for proactive growth.
Okay, let's unpack this journey. I think we have to start right at the foundational layer, the mid-90s, where this quiet architect first started building his world.
Right. So we begin with the 7-year-old identity. And it's defined by this intense quietness in the mid-90s. And if we connect these to the bigger picture of early identity formation, quietness in that specific social context wasn't neutral.
No, not at all.
It was, as the source material explains, an immediate vulnerability.
Absolutely. The consequence of being quiet was tangible. I mean, it was immediate. He becomes an easy target for relentless bullying.
Mm-hmm.
He was teased for clumsiness. He endured name-calling and the resulting hurt. It wasn't externalized, it was carried internally.
And the sources describe it so vividly.
Yeah, as secrets too heavy for a child to hold. This internalizing of pain, this silent processing, that's a crucial first coping mechanism, isn't it?
It is. He had to create a highly detailed interior life because the exterior one was, frankly, unsafe.
And that need for safety, that's what drove the creation of these robust, silent worlds. The media he consumed became a kind of safe harbor, a set of blueprints.
We see all those classic mid-90s staples, comics like Archie, Pupong, the Filipino funny comics. They're providing humor and fantasy.
Yeah.
But the most revealing mechanism for me was the computer games, played on those loud, humming CRT monitors.
Oh, those monitors. They weren't just screens, were they? They were more like portals.
Exactly. The games offered something the real world emphatically didn't.
Vicarious victory.
Vicarious victory. In that digital environment, the child could feel strong, decisive, brave. It's a controlled reality where his actions have positive, immediate consequences.
Which is the total opposite of the painful, unpredictable chaos of the schoolyard.
Precisely. And then you layer on top of that the TV heroes, Power Rangers, Yu Yu Hakusho, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And they provided more than just distraction. They were instilling these themes of courage, transformation, and maybe most importantly, friendship.
All the aspirational qualities that were completely missing from his daily experience.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really, really interesting, because he wasn't just passively consuming these heroes. The specific, detailed, imaginative worlds he built, particularly the Lego monsters and the sketch creatures, this was active.
It was active processing. This wasn't random play. It was purposeful world building. And the names of the monsters are proxies for his psychological needs. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's look at the triad he defined.
Okay, so first up is Granitus, covered in an armor of stone.
I mean, that's a direct, literal expression of his deepest wish.
The desire to be unbreakable.
Exactly. The armor is a psychological defense mechanism just externalized through plastic and sketches. He wanted a physical, visible shield against the name-calling and the clumsiness he felt defined him.
Okay, then you have Lumina, with wings of light.
Lumina is pure aspiration. It's the escape, the recognition, and it's directly inspired by that dramatic protective transformation of the Power Rangers.
So if you can't fight them on the ground.
You wish for wings to rise above the conflict. It's a classic response.
But his favorite, and I think this is the one that really connects back to his identity, was Clumbino. Clumsy but kind.
This is a remarkable piece of self-awareness for a 7-year-old. I mean, think about it. He wasn't in denial about the teasing. He acknowledged the awkwardness, the clumsy part.
But he insisted on defining himself by his core goodness, the kind part.
Yes. Clumbino represents the acceptance of his perceived flaws while asserting his internal worth. It's his way of saying, I may fall down, but I am good.
And this internal heroism wasn't silent. We see this solitary ritual described in the sources, tossing a square pillow over and over, using that simple, repetitive rhythm as the heartbeat for his secret heroic battles.
The pillow tossing is the physical manifestation of his inner life. It's the very first rhythm he can control, the earliest form of self-regulation we see.
So the pillow isn't just a toy.
No, it's the original carrier of his emotion. It's the silent audience for the courage he couldn't yet show externally. And we absolutely need to remember this rhythmic, repetitive action when we later discuss music and even coding.
Even amidst all this deeply personal, imaginative escape, this kid was wrestling with some heavy, profound questions.
Early existential questions. And they show that nascent analytical mind already at work.
He was asking, why do good and bad exist? Why do bad people seem to have power over the good?
He's not just observing injustice, he's trying to understand its rules. He's reverse engineering the morality of his world.
And the paradox of authority figures, too. Questioning why supposed protectors, policemen, or soldiers sometimes became villains in the real world.
And that stewardship question. Why do we call this world ours if we don't take care of it? It's a whole moral framework being constructed in complete isolation.
So the imagination wasn't just an escape route.
Not at all. It was a laboratory. It was a lab for analyzing the underlying injustice of the world. And that belief that goodness mattered, even when he was mocked for being clumsy, that laid the ethical foundation for the disciplined man he would eventually become.
This raises an important question about his foundation, though. What was the family backdrop? The sources give us a glimpse of this in what they call Chapter IA, and it's initially described as perfect.
The structure was very clear. A housewife mother, a father who brings these simple weekly joys, burgers, cola, simple toys like Batman and Power Rangers. This provided predictability, comfort.
But then we see this striking contradiction. The quiet, bullied boy at school is the naughty boy at home, kicking his sisters, climbing windows, running off to his cousin's house without permission.
It's a powerful contrast. How do you reconcile those two personas?
Well, the source states it clearly. It says the mischief stemmed from a deeper, unfulfilled need for conversation.
Exactly. The quietness was a mask. It was a mask worn for survival outside the home. But internally, that imaginative, questioning energy was just desperate for connection and engagement.
So the disruptive behavior was a cry for connection.
It was a cry for connection within his safe zone, testing the boundaries of acceptance.
And there's that small, but I think significant detail about his physical health. He was very thin, refused to eat vegetables, and his father addressed it with gummy vitamins.
It's a beautiful detail. It shows the father actively providing care, helping the child grow stronger, focusing on internal strength just as much as external comfort. And it's also interesting that the source links this early mischief to a later outcome.
That it taught him kindness in high school.
Right. Which suggests that the family set boundaries, and through those conflicts, he learned the impact of his actions on the people he loved most.
So the foundation is set. Deep internal thought, a need for conversation, and these self-contained imaginative worlds that serve as early psychological frameworks for strength and morality. Now, let's transition to the high school years. This is where that contained energy finally finds its public voice.
Section 3, finding the voice. And this transition was accelerated. Grade 7 ended early for him because his mother spoke to the principal.
So he was pushed into a new, challenging environment sooner than his peers.
Which required an immediate, intense period of adjustment. And initially, it was just a repetition of the trauma, bullying in the first year.
But here's the first major documented lesson in human reconciliation and resilience.
Yes, the unexpected resolution. By the last year of high school, his former bully had become a friend. And the author drew this vital lesson from it, that even broken beginnings can lead to unexpected peace.
which demonstrates a huge capacity for forgiveness, a refusal to hold grudges, which is just critical for mental health down the line.
For sure.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating next is his very intentional search for belonging. He tried to fit in with the popular group, the basketball crowd, attempting to adopt their high energy and their rapid rhythm.
But it wasn't him.
No, he realized quickly that it wasn't authentic. His true orbit was smaller, quieter, and, as he calls it, more real.
A tight group of 5 friends.
Exactly. Bonded by mutual interests, not by status or physical prowess. In this friend group, they established a sanctuary at a friend's house, which he described almost as a fortress or a Lego house.
Harkens right back to his foundational architecture of creation and safety.
Right back, and they spent their time in pure shared imagination. Digital battles in computer games, board games, card games.
And it wasn't an exclusively male group either, which is notable. 3 or 4 non-cheerleader girls were part of this quiet fun, which reinforces that sense of inclusivity over, superficial popularity.
And in this safe space, his emotional life really began to bud. We see the first significant experiences of crushes, though they are managed with intense respect and admiration from a distance.
The first crush was the smart girl, and this triggered what he calls kilig. We should probably pause and define that because it's a very specific Filipino cultural emotion.
It is. Kilig is more than just a crush or simple admiration. It's that thrilling, butterflies in your stomach feeling, that rush of electric anticipation and giddy joy you feel when something romantic or even potentially romantic happens.
The thrill of possibility.
The thrill of possibility. And in this case, it was admiration for her intelligence and her place in the smart group.
And then there's the third-year crush, the Filipina who had lived in Doha. And here he made a conscious, very mature decision. He kept his feelings quiet, specifically to preserve the friendship.
A bond built on respect.
And the sources are clear. They are still friends today, and she is married. This illustrates a profound commitment to prioritizing loyalty and enduring connection over the immediate, maybe fleeting pursuit of romance.
It shows a lot of emotional maturity, and it was gained through the structured quietness of his circle.
So all of this quiet internal life, this growing emotional vocabulary, it just exploded outward in 2005. He was 15. This is the pivotal moment. The birth of the band.
And the context is so crucial. Alternative rock was the definitive language of youth, of heartbreak, of rebellion at that time. It was the vehicle for public emotional expression.
And the quiet circle transformed.
Completely. He became the vocalist, the vessel. The emotions that were previously carried by the silent square pillow and the imagined monsters were now carried by his voice. 3 friends handled the instruments, and the 5th friend
Insisted on becoming the manager.
Right, you have to have a manager. And they established their sanctuary, rehearsing every Friday after school in a rented studio.
The source material paints such a vivid sensory picture of this space. Shaking walls, the smell of dust and amplifiers, dim lights, scattered cables.
It was rough, but it was theirs, and it was loud. The noise they made was a declaration. We belong here, and we have something to say.
They channeled the music of their generation. Sponge Cola, Six Cycle Mind, Hail. It was the soundtrack to all that angst and hope. But that moment when he first heard his voice echo back through the speakers.
It was a moment of profound recognition. The sources say his friends just stopped playing.
They just stopped. They saw the quiet boy differently. And the comparison they drew to Sponge Cola's vocalist, Yeo Yuzon, that provided immense, much-needed confidence.
The internal silence that had defined his entire childhood was broken, and it was replaced by a public, powerful sound.
So the pillow ritual was retired.
Yeah.
Music became the new public carrier for those heavy emotions. The energy he used to build imaginary armor was now focused on mastering pitch, rhythm, and projection.
And this is where we see the first vital link between creativity and technical discipline. I mean, the technical skill required to sing lead, to harmonize, to maintain rhythm, and to carry the emotional weight of a song, it required focused practice.
And that discipline is the direct precursor to the rigor he would later apply to code.
Exactly. Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, Code, Confession, and Crisis. The college years, defined by academic rigor, intense heartbreak, and this profound spiritual shift to faith.
The technical awakening actually began back in high school with the BITS Computer Club. BITS, for context, is a pretty typical name for a computer society or club in Filipino high schools.
But the real revelation came when he discovered C language.
He felt it was magic. That's such a powerful term for a coding language. Why C?
Well, C language is fundamental. It gives you near direct access to memory. It's structured, it's rigorous, and it demands absolute precision. If you miss a semicolon, the whole program fails.
Okay.
So for a mind that had previously found structure and control in Lego and rhythm and music, C language felt like pure controllable architecture.
So it was magic because he could command it.
He could command it, and it responded predictably, unlike the social world he grew up in.
So at 17, he chooses computer science, a notoriously challenging four-year course, heavy with advanced math and science. The sources explicitly note the high dropout rate. This is not a soft path.
Not at all. And college was the testing ground for his new identity. He formed a tight new circle of two best buddies. One, Chris Brown, the R&B lover and dancer, provided a kind of quiet understanding.
And the other, the fast-walking computer geek, provided the intellectual camaraderie.
Right. And by second year, their section had a reputation. They were known as the cool section, which is a complete inversion of his high school identity. He was no longer the quiet target. He was part of a recognized, confident cohort.
And their rhythm included the introduction to nightlife and a certain reckless freedom in second year. Clubs, bars, beer, karaoke, dancing.
And R&B and club songs become the definitive soundtrack, which reflects his connection with Chris Brown. By fourth year, the circle grows with T-Pain, and our author earns the definitive nickname Neo.
The singer-performer identity. It connects right back to the vocalist he discovered in high school.
And this period included these moments of reckless freedom-skipping Riesel class with his friends to go to the bar in the afternoon. It symbolizes the carefree, slightly rebellious confidence of their final year.
But parallel to this freedom was the MU heartbreak, the mutual understanding relationship that consumed his emotional focus. We really need to explain what MU means in this cultural context because it's central to the whole crisis.
It is. MU, mutual understanding, it's a unique relationship status, very common in Filipino culture. It's often highly intense. They met in second year, they were neighbors, they shared the daily rhythm of walking to and from school.
But it lacks the formal acknowledged commitment of being officially boyfriend and girlfriend.
And that lack of a formal title creates a deep emotional paradox. The feelings were intense. He truly loved her. He thought she was the center of his world, yet they were technically only friends.
And the crisis arrived in fourth year precisely because of this ambiguity.
Intense jealousy, insecurity, anger whenever another boy spoke to her. The lack of a title meant he lacked the public right to claim her, despite the depth of their private connection.
And his coping mechanism completely regressed. He moved back to a destructive habit, increased beer drinking, to drown feelings.
Yeah. All the emotional resilience he gained from the band, all the quiet strength of his childhood, they were insufficient to withstand the pain of true, complex heartbreak.
The end of college brought resolution, but it was awkward. He graduated, celebrated with his high school friends, received a prestigious loyalty award. But the MU relationship dissolved into awkwardness. They weren't best friends anymore.
Yet, the sources tell us he slowly found peace. He thanked her in his heart for the crucial lessons he learned about love, friendship, and the painful necessity of letting go.
But the capacity to truly move on, that required something deeper than just time.
And this is the turning point, the dramatic spiritual shift to faith and healing. And the invitation came from an unexpected, almost poetic source.
The best friend of the OU girl.
The best friend of the MU girl, who he'd also had a small crush on. She invites him to a church anniversary in fourth year.
He agrees, and the moment is transformative. The pastor spoke about releasing pain and hurt to God, and the source material makes this the defining breakthrough. He just cried and cried.
Physically releasing everything he had held inside since childhood. The bullying, the jealousy, the heartbreak. It was the moment he realized he needed a foundational external anchor, not just his internal mechanisms.
So the path forward was immediate and disciplined. He began attending his own church near home with his mother and sister, and critically, he joined the choir ministry.
Choosing the choir over the dance ministry because singing for God felt like the most profound and disciplined use of the voice he had worked so hard to find.
He became a tenor, wore the robe, found a new kind of joy and belonging with a choir buddy who is still a friend today. This is the ultimate convergence, isn't it?
It is. The music that had been the carrier of his personal emotion in the band was now the carrier of his faith and his spiritual service. It moved from self-expression to communal devotion.
And the healing was direct. The sources acknowledge it. He moved on after graduation because church and God helped him heal.
And this experience solidified a core belief that underpins his entire narrative, that God gives ups and downs because he knows we can handle them. The pattern pain to purpose, is fully established through that spiritual discipline.
So he emerges from college with a demanding technical degree, a resolved heartbreak, and a reinforced spiritual foundation. That structure immediately translates into his professional life. Which brings us to Section V, building the blueprint, professional growth, and resilience.
And what's critical here is how the rigor required to master C language, to navigate complex college math, translated directly into a systematic, upwardly mobile career trajectory focused on complex systems and reliability.
We can map the professional pivot so clearly.
Yeah.
In 2011, he joins an operations team that's often the front line reacting to problems.
Right. Then, in 2014, he moves up to system administrator. This requires anticipating issues, maintaining large, stable environments. It's more proactive.
And then in 2018, the significant jump to cloud engineer. That shift means moving from simply maintaining physical systems to designing, architecting, and ensuring the scalability and resilience of global infrastructure.
Which required a massive leap in systematic, forward-looking discipline, a discipline that mirrors the structured world building he began with, Lego.
He is now an engineer of Linux and cloud, demonstrating a clear, continuous climb through increasingly sophisticated technical roles. But just as he found that stability, his resilience was tested by the deepest crisis. Profound personal loss coupled with the global pandemic.
And this crisis arrived on a deeply symbolic day, midnight, December 25th, 2019. His mother died suddenly from a heart attack, with his father and him present.
The source material is so raw here. He felt heartbroken, his life was destroyed, and the temptation to return to the old, destructive college coping mechanism, the heavy beer drinking, was immediate and intense.
This is a moment where the entire system he had built could have just collapsed.
So how did the resilient systems he developed over decades kick in?
They were immediately assisted by external perspective. The onset of the pandemic in 2020, seeing so many lives being lost globally, provided a harsh reminder to value his own life and to anchor himself back to his faith.
So he engaged in intentional cognitive behavior.
Actively stopping the negative thoughts before they could take root. And crucially, his family, which had provided the simple comforts of childhood, became the enduring support system once more. His sisters helped manage his anxiety, reminding him that he needed to take care of himself.
The foundation he thought was destroyed was actually his most vital safety net.
Exactly. And this support enabled a crucial, intentional behavioral shift documented in the sources. Instead of relying on beer as a shield against feelings, he made a conscious substitution. He now drinks coffee with his college friends, Chris Brown, T-Pain, and Jay, in December.
That distinction, beer replaced by coffee, is so powerful. It's not about cutting off the connection. It's about substituting a destructive habit with a shared positive ritual.
He maintains the vital connection and the camaraderie without the self-destructive element. And that connection remains vital, spanning years and workplaces. He laughs with his old operations and sysadmin friends over breakfast after Christmas break, reminiscing.
So the bonds forged in the workplace, college, and home are these multi-layered support structures.
And they prove their value during the moment of ultimate loss. The enduring foundation of family and faith, which he built so painstakingly after college, proved its worth not in prosperity, but in the most devastating moment of his life.
Let's move to Section 6, the current harmony and future vision. This is where we see him integrating all those past lessons, the imagination, the music, the code, the faith, into a stable, proactive life.
The present is defined by layers of connection, and it shows a mature understanding of what different circles provide. He maintains his lifelong friendships, he's still close to the 4 high school friends, and he specifically relies on their loyalty and understanding. He notes their support during a mental health issue he faced back in 2014. These are the anchors.
The college crew is still active. Chris Brown, T-Pain, and Jay, who he calls my companion. Gaming with Jay keeps that bond alive, which proves that shared digital worlds, much like the computer games he loved as a child, still provide an avenue for connection.
A shared rhythm. And his professional bonds are key, too. 3 colleagues from the operations team transitioned into close friends. But here's the most modern, fascinating layer of his social architecture. The SB19 community friends.
Right, an online community connected by a shared passion and trust, despite never having met in person. This speaks volumes about his evolution.
It really does.
The isolated 7-year-old, afraid of the external world, has become an adult who is comfortable forming deep, trust-based connections in purely digital spaces. His imagination is now collaborative and global.
And this complexity of identity is perfectly reflected in his current soundtrack. Music is a constant companion, but it's not limited by genre at all.
His Spotify playlists are a beautiful reflection of the entire journey.
Yeah.
You've got J-pop, K-pop, worship music from the healing phase, Pinoy pop, OPM band, which is the high school rock phase, foreign band, party, R&B for the college nightlife.
It's all there, all existing simultaneously. His identity is fully integrated, and music provides the emotional scaffolding for every single facet of it.
We also see the physical discipline mirroring the professional discipline. The shift to health and discipline was spurred by a very relatable catalyst,
The belly.
developing a belly after years of drinking beer. The internal motivation for change was clear and personal.
And the action taken is intentional and systematic, echoing his career path.
Yeah.
It's not a temporary fix, it's a systematic change. He starts a diet, cutting rice and reducing sugar, and commits to the gym and running.
This is so critical. The commitment he showed to mastering C language, or progressing from sysadmin to cloud engineer, is now being applied to his physical well-being.
It's discipline applied across disciplines. It's a holistic approach to architecture, whether that system is the body, a cloud environment, or a software program.
And finally, the clear future vision, the goals for the next chapter. He is planning for security, investing in a new house, securing life insurance. This is the mature architect securing his future foundation.
Professionally, the aim is ambitious, increasing his role as an AI engineer by studying more about AI. This shows a commitment to continuous, high-level technical growth, moving into a field that demands constant learning and adaptability.
But his creative dream is still intact, and it's brilliantly blended with technology.
Yeah.
He wants to buy a DJ controller and become a DJ.
Which is the ultimate synthesis. He takes his deep love for music and rhythm, his identity as Neo, and applies it through a technical, creative medium. The DJ controller is both code and chord.
The quiet boy who needed a rhythm for his life has now learned how to control the tempo, the volume, and the harmony for himself and for others.
The journey is complete. It moves from the private architecture of Lego and a tossed pillow to the global architecture of the cloud, always anchored and guided by creative expression and resilience.
Okay, we've covered the entire scope of the source material, from Clumbino to the cloud. Let's bring this deep dive to a close with a synthesis of the journey.
The profound lesson here is one of self-discovery, and it's fueled by this sequential, constructive expression. The author consciously moved from silent internal fantasy, the Lego monsters, the pillow battles, to vocal public expression in the alternative rock band, and then finally to intellectual and spiritual discipline with C language, cloud engineering, and a systematic faith.
And the most critical mechanism for success, it seems, was vulnerability. We saw him shift from holding hurt internally, those secrets too heavy, to proactively admitting hurt, seeking faith after heartbreak, and addressing his physical health after loss.
Vulnerability was the key. It was the key that moved him from the reactive state of a bullied child to a proactive, goal-oriented engineer.
The protective armor he wished for and granted us.
No.
It was never found externally.
No, it was forged internally through facing and naming his weaknesses, acknowledging his feelings, and building systematic replacements for destructive habits.
The sources show us so clearly that our side quests, the bands, the intensity of that MU relationship, the imaginary worlds, they aren't distractions. They are the essential crucible where the core strength and discipline of our adult life is forged. The quiet boy who needed someone to talk to found his voice in a microphone, secured his identity in systematic code, and proved his strength through profound resilience.
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture for you, the listener, we've tracked a really powerful pattern here. How intense emotional experiences, like heartbreak and loss, led directly to structured faith and a highly disciplined career focus.
So here is our final provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. We've seen how releasing the internal secrets too heavy led to purposeful action in music, technology, and health. So what unreleased emotion are you holding on to right now, that internal burden? And what unexpected positive path could its ultimate purposeful release open up for your future?
Think about that undeniable pattern, pain to purpose. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.
We'll catch you next time.